All right, this is the one you guys have been asking for. This is the one that several people have asked if I'll do side-by-side, split screen, 3 drafts at the same time. Bears trading for Marvin Harrison Jr., so only trading down to number 2. Bears trading for the Hall, trading down to number 8. Or the Bears trading Justin Fields. We're going to do them side by side, and we're going to decide which direction the Bears are headed. And there's something very clear as we go into this, guys. This is the offensive draft. This is going to be a draft for the Bears offense. Our defense is not nearly in as bad a shape as our offense. So that's going to be the point of this. And at the end, we're going to compare where things stand. Here's our scenarios. And guys, I tried to be as fair as I possibly could. And I don't see it being realistic that Atlanta does trade for Justin Fields. And the primary reason is you hear people talk about the Bears and the salary cap coming up with extending Fields. The Falcons are in worse salary cap position than the Bears are, but the Falcons are in win-now position. So the Falcons more likely would trade up for a haul for a cheaper quarterback and giving up some draft capital than they would for trading for Justin Fields. You could get a scenario where we get the Raiders or we get the Broncos or something like that. I just don't see any of these happening, guys. Trading for Justin Fields, I don't, because if those teams value Justin Fields enough to go and trade for a first-round pick, why wouldn't the Bears keep him? Anyways, we're going to set aside our bias for this one, and we're going to say the best scenario. So I tried to be as fair as I could. The best scenario from what you hear out there is getting a second and a fourth. And that would be the best second that I can see happening would be the Falcons, and I don't see this happening, but we're going to go with it. We're going to ride this train out, and we're going to see how it works out. So the Bears trade Justin Fields to the Atlanta Falcons for number 40 overall and their number 110, which is their 4th-round pick overall. So the Bears have 1-1, 1-9, 240, 373, 399, 4-110, 4-111, 4-124, and 5-146. All three of these, the Bears are going to end up with 9 draft picks total overall. Okay? So they're going to pick 9. So it's going to be pretty fair across the board how this lines out. Number 2, the Bears keep Justin Fields, and they trade down 1 spot to number 2. And with this, the Bears are going to trade number 1 to Washington for 1-2. 234, 241, and a future second-round pick. The Bears own 1-2, 1-9, 234, 241, 373, 399, 411, 111, 4124, and 5146, and a future second-round pick. And number 3, the Hall. Justin Fields is traded to number 8 for Atlanta. To Atlanta for number 8. The Bears get 1-8, 240, 381, 2025 and 2026 first-round picks, and tight end Kyle Pitts. And that's what it would take to trade for a haul. The Falcons are going to have to make it worth it for the Bears, as we just barely discussed in our other video about what they would look like if we did trade. The Falcons are going to have to make it worth it for the Bears to say, we're going to pass up on player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're going to trade up on this good draft year's top 7 picks, who are probably the top 3 wide receivers, and we're going to go down this far because it's worth it for us to get Kyle Pitts, 2 future firsts, and 3 picks this year. So with that, the Bears own 1-8, 1-9, 240, 373, 381, 399, 4111, 4124, 5146, excuse me, and 2 future first-round picks. Okay, so everyone, after you see that, you probably already have your little opinion forming in your head of what you already like, but let's look how it rolls out as we draft the players at these positions. Here's our decisions. We're going to make fairly level decisions on all of these, but some things do have to change. You see, number 1, we do get $3.233 million back in salary cap from trading away Justin Fields. We have to eat a little bit of that because he was our rookie, so we ate a little bit of his contract that's left, but that's how much we would get back on the salary cap. So we have $76 million. With that, we're going to pick up Jalen Johnson, Connor Williams, Xavier McKinney, and Curtis Samuel. These are the 4 that I've established are most likely by the Bears, and we're not going to let Patrick Scales go. We're going to sign him to a league minimum, so I have him in there as well. So with that, leading up to the draft, we have our draft pool. It's going to cost us the most to do this because Caleb Williams is the number 1 pick. It's the most expensive, so we're going to have a draft pool that costs us about $15 million in our new cap space once we're done. And as we head into the season and we're adding an ancillary player here or there, is going to be $8.5 million. Number 2, Jalen Johnson, Connor Williams, Xavier McKinney, Curtis Samuel, Patrick Scales. Same scenario, but we just don't have the savings that we had from Justin Fields. So same scenario. And number 3, we're not going to pick up Curtis Samuel because we can't afford him now because we have Kyle Pitts, okay? But Kyle Pitts is a more valuable receiving weapon than Curtis Samuel was. But take and pick what you want right there, but we have Kyle Pitts now as a second tight end, and we have about $9.2 million left after that because of that. So there's our salary cap situation as we go into the draft. Made them fairly level. So here's what we do. First round, first pick by each position, 1-1. We're going to take Caleb Williams. He's the new quarterback of the Chicago Bears. Second scenario, we're keeping Justin Fields, so we go with Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver, Ohio State, Calvin Johnson 2.0. Now, Laiatu Latu, we're going to have our pick at defensive end. So you guys, if you guys like Dallas Turner more, if you like Jared Verse more, just picture in your head, we're getting the top, defensive end. We're getting the top defensive end that we wanted to pick out. I like Laiatu Latu more. I think his moves are more polished. I think he's NFL ready. I'm not worried about his medicals, and if something comes out with that, that'll tell us before the draft, and it's not going to be Laiatu Latu. But we've got the defensive end that we want right here. All right, with our second picks at each spot, we've kept Fields at number in the middle one. We've traded Justin Fields in the first one. It's not going to change the approach where we need a defensive end. And guys, sitting at 8 and 9 right there, this is the prime position. A lot of people have said, are we going to trade down from number 9 to? I don't see the Bears doing that. You can say, well, you can still get Jared Verse or Laiatu Latu later. You might. But sitting at 9 gives you prime position to pick the defensive end that you've scouted that you really want that you're going to take. And this is really the prime position. This is the prime defensive player that we need in this draft. This is all we really need now that we've signed Xavier McKinney as a safety. We don't really have a high need for any other defensive players. Okay? Another lineman, but we'll get into that later. So with keeping Justin Fields and trading to 8, we've already picked Laiatu Latu. And really the best player available at this position is where you get a tackle. I don't see Joe Alt available. In my dream mocks, we put Joe Alt here, but I don't think it's realistic to have him here. So the solid consolation prize here is Olu Fashanu, and that is a great tackle to pick up, and it gives competition to Braxton Jones. Most likely beats Braxton Jones out, but that's one of the needs that we have in this draft is a swing tackle or starting tackle. So all three of these drafts, we're going to take a tackle. This is the best option to get the best tackle in this draft is if we go this route and we trade down for the haul. We're not getting our wide receiver, but we'll get to all that later. All right, now in the middle one, our makeup pick, number 1, is going to be just right here in the middle. And if we keep Justin Fields and trade down to 2, we're going to get that tackle that competes with Braxton Jones, possibly starting tackle with Patrick Paul. If you haven't looked at my video on offensive tackle breakdown on Patrick Paul, he is actually a very high caliber, high quality offensive tackle. I would love to have him at 234. Now, a lot of you might say, well, what about Cam Kitchens? What about Tyler Nubin? I think both of them are gone at this point. As we've gone through these mock drafts, as we've gone through this preseason, you're going to start seeing players rise the boards. Tyler Nubin and Cam Kitchens are both going to be gone by 234. What about Xavier Legette? He's gone by 234. If nothing else, Xavier Legette is gone at 233. That's where the Panthers pick, and they desperately need a wide receiver. And if Xavier Legette is there at 233, he's gone. He's gone at 233 to the Panthers. All right, moving on now to each of their, the fourth pick for the middle one, third on the two sides. If we're trading Justin Fields, we've got to get a wide receiver. Devontae Walker, wide receiver, North Carolina, is who we pick at 40. On the other two, if we're keeping Justin Fields, we've already addressed those issues. Well, we haven't addressed those issues on the far right one, but you'll see where we're going that one because we have a different pick option with where we're going. If we're keeping Justin Fields, we're picking Jackson Powers Johnson, center out of Oregon. Give us some depth there on the line. All right. On the next one, all three of these, we're going to take Zach Zinter. We need depth at guard. We need someone to come in and compete. And, yeah, we had him farther down. Guys, a lot of these players are rising boards. We had them farther down. We had different players farther down. But as they ride the board, well, obviously, if we're seeing the value in these guys, other people are too. So get some guard depth here. All right, this is where the extra pick comes in on the far right one. We got that third-round pick, and we're going to take Brendan Rice, wide receiver out of USC. We have the luxury of doing that here as opposed to the first scenario because we have this third-round pick. So is it ideal compared to Marvin Harrison Jr.? I don't know. We got Kyle Pitts, so there's another receiving weapons. But this is how I would lay out each of these drafts. All right, moving on. Now, again, guys, we had him in my first mock drafts, in my first videos. The first video I made about him several months ago, 3-4 months ago. Darius Robinson was the 5th round prospect. Now he's clearly in the 3rd round at the very end of it, and I'm taking him with our compensation pick for Ian Cunningham. Defensive lineman out of Missouri. He's a stud. We're going to like him. All right, now moving on to the 4th round. That extra pick we have for trading down from Fields is where we pick up the swing tackle. He is a swing tackle. I don't think he's going to come in and beat out Braxton Jones, but he's got a lot of potential. Javon Foster, offensive tackle, Missouri. We pick him up with our extra pick there. So each one of them has had an extra pick for different trade down scenarios. We'll get to where they all picked in the end. All right, so 4-111. I know Cade Stover is who I liked, but guys, he's already going mid-3rd round now. He's already rising the boards. And yes, this is an older picture from when he was with South Carolina. This is not the same anymore. He was Florida State this last year, but his coolest looking pictures were all with South Carolina. So that's the picture here. Jaheim Bell, tight end out of Florida. He's a little bit more like a Kyle Pitts type of tight end than he is a Cade Stover, than he is a Cole Kmet type of tight end. He's going to be your more wide receiverish type of tight end, but I think we can really use that with a new offensive coordinator and needing the weapons. So this is who I have at 4-111. All right. Now the last 2 picks, we're going to take a running back, a 3rd-string running back, and this is where you would take one of those running backs. So I see that happening here, and it's going to be whoever's left out of these guys. So there's 4 good receivers in this area. I think 3 of them will be gone by this point. It just depends on who teams like. So here's your options. And then with our last pick, we're going to take a late-round wide receiver to give us some depth at wide receiver, come in and compete, because that's one of our biggest weaknesses. All right, so, and really, guys, rounds 1 through 3 is where you're going to get your biggest starting potential players, and that's why I didn't really put too much here at the 4th and 5th. A running back is a solid position to pick in the 4th, and then we need depth at wide receiver. So here's our lineup on our offense. Here's how it breaks down and compares. The green means an advantage over the other 2. And the red means a weakness over the other 2. And no, I did not put green or red with Caleb Williams or Justin Fields because you don't know how good Caleb Williams is yet. You don't know if he's going to be Jamarcus Russell. You don't know if he's going to be Bryce Young. The reality is, and as I watch his tape, guys, everyone says he's Pat Mahomes 2.0. I don't agree with that. I don't have any inclination that he's Pat Mahomes 2.0. The best I give him is Kyler Murray 2.0, and that's not a knock on him. There's a lot of comparison there. He is shorter than 6'1". Just like Bryce Young, they kind of boost those things up. It'll be interesting to see what happens at the combine where they weigh him or measure him in at. I think he's 6 foot, and that's fine. He can still succeed in the NFL. Really good quarterbacks at 6 foot can succeed. It's definitely a weakness compared to 6'3", 6'4" quarterbacks, though. But Justin Fields has been hampered by this line. He's been hampered by wide receivers. He's been hampered by play callers, so you don't know which one of these is going to be better next year. It's speculation, and every one of us can make our opinions and what it is, but that's not a weakness or a strength. And you can make that argument for every position, but the reality is if you put these 2 neck and neck next to each other with their pre-draft processing and grades, Justin Fields actually grades out better than Caleb Williams. So, not going to spend any more time on that. Clearly, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a better prospect than Brendan Rice and Devontae Walker. So that gives us an edge. That's what this whole middle draft was drafted around, though, was taking Marvin Harrison Jr., the best wide receiver in this class. As we go down, there is an edge on the massive haul trade down by getting Kyle Pitts. Is it realistic for this scenario to happen? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if Poles is going to get a haul, this is the type of thing that's going to happen. On offensive tackle, Olu Fashanu is the dark green because he is the biggest advantage in these 3 scenarios. Patrick Paul is still a green because it's a solid swing tackle. Javon Foster is red because he is not a top-tier prospect. Patrick Paul, Olu Fashanu are. Olu Fashanu is a top 2 prospect, so that's why these are red and green. On the end, if we're drafting this way and we have to pick up the picks that we need to pick up, Jackson Powers Johnson is available in the other 2 because we didn't take a pick on Caleb Williams. And that's what you're sacrificing here is your offensive line depth and strength. Jackson Powers Johnson is a huge strength. While Connor Williams is out for the first part of the year healing from his injury, Jackson Powers Johnson is going to be crucial and valuable to do that. You're going to have to re-sign Lucas Patrick on option number 1 with the experience with Fields to be able to come in. And we've gone over him in other videos. He is a clear liability. So here is where we end up with these. On defense, everything is basically the same. We didn't really make any differences in all of them. We drafted the same people. We drafted Liatu Latu and Darius Robinson, and we signed Xavier McKinney. So the defense isn't the big focus of this draft. It's going to be right here on offense. Which one sets us up for success now? Well, obviously, if you're drafting a rookie quarterback, you're not setting yourself up for success now, and you're taking away from other spots of value need that we have to have. You're taking away Marvin Harrison Jr., you're taking away Olu Fashanu, you're taking away Jackson Powers Johnson. That's what we need to realize as we go into this, and why Ryan Poles is building this thing brick by brick the way that he is. All right? So here's our completely unbiased but realistic side-by-side trade scenarios. Would I be upset with any of these? I think initially, yeah, I would be upset with number 1. I really would. I would be upset with it. Would I get over it and support the Bears? Yeah, I would. And hopefully we could build from the future. The difference is right here. In trade scenario 1, we still have our own picks next year, and we have the Panthers second. But if we keep Justin and trade for Marvin Harrison Jr., we have all this advantage in the middle, and we get another second. If we get the haul, which is what I really think Poles is leaning towards, and what I think he has to leverage and where he has to play the game, because he can go and get this type of scenario where he's got a solid tackle, solid guards, he's got solid strength. And I didn't highlight Zach Zinter because I took him on all 3, but look at how we're building this team up. We're building it up brick by brick, and that's exactly what the Bears need to do. And then you've got future firsts. And guys, we can't expect the Falcons to be like the Panthers, or like we've had 2 first overall picks 2 years in a row. We can't expect that. Realistically, the Falcons will probably end up somewhere with the 14th to 20th overall pick next year, competing for their division, and if they win it, a playoff team, and potentially even winning a game in the playoffs. So it's not going to be first overall pick again. It's not what's going to happen. If we take a different avenue with the Commanders pick there and we don't get the second rounder, we're still struggling with swing tackle if we don't take the extra second and we take a first next year instead. So where's your trade-off? All right, let me know where this sways you to what direction you want the Bears to head. This is going to be decided fairly soon, guys. This is going to be decided here in March. So we're about 2 months away from knowing, even less than that, because free agency opens March 11th. We're going to be a couple months away from knowing what's going to happen with the Bears. Honestly, I'm leaning towards the major haul. You give up Marvin Harrison Jr., but there's still some potential players there that you can be picking up, like Brendan Rice. Is he Marvin Harrison Jr.? Absolutely not. Not even close. He has a ton of potential, and he's still an ex-receiver, still 6'3", 6'4", still has a lot of good upside to him. So there's a lot to discuss, to discover here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Appreciate you checking out the video. Hope you made it to the end. Please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed by now, please subscribe. Appreciate y'all on this journey. And until next time, bear down.